We'll again jump ahead a little bit and then we'll come back to the basics of El Nino again later. So we looked at these animations, GIFs from NOAA showing how the 2026 sea surface temperatures and anomalies are evolving. But when it comes to El Nino, we look at the subsurface temperatures and how they pop up, but also what the transition is from the previous winter. If we look at the 2024 SST anomalies similar to what we just looked at from 2025 into 2026, then you can see that we were just coming out of the 2023-2024 El Nino as of April 2024 here, still warm sea surface temperature anomalies across the tropical Pacific, but the El Nino was beginning to end, decay as we said, by spring. That's typically what happens, and it transitioned into a cold state, and the warm anomalies here kept retreating towards the west, and as of February 2025, it was still anomalously warm here and maybe a little bit of a warming here. In the middle, it got cold. So these temperature anomaly patterns tend to be quite variable, but now global warming is beginning to superpose on this because the Eastern Pacific is actually cooling during global warming. West Pacific is warming faster than other tropical oceans, and there is, a theory that says ocean dynamic thermostat works to make sure that ocean can take up more heat during global warming by increasing upwelling and not warming as much in the east, because east is where normal conditions give us cold oceans, and that soaks up heat from the atmosphere like a sponge, which gets released during an El Nino. So during an El Nino, ocean releases heat. We get what is called a mini global warming because global mean temperatures go up a little. If you look at the same thing from last summer, July 2025, so starting from here, you can see that the warm SST anomalies persisted, but cold SST anomalies here grew. We had a La Nina state in the summer winter of 25-26. Now we are transitioning into a summer of El Nino. I'm bringing this up because they are not exactly symmetric, but much more importantly, even though all the news is about what monsoon will do this year. Nice work by people like Arindam Chakravarti of IISc and I think Jasti Chowdhury from IITM Pune show that what the transition is from the winter state, so December, January, February of the previous year into current year, 25 December into January, February of 26, into summer of 2026 is what is going to determine the actual deficits in the monsoon. Just to be less confusing, if we are going from an El Nino state in the winter, a La Nina state in the winter into a El Nino state in the summer, then the deficits in the past have been the largest, about 15%. Remember, monsoon tends to be around plus minus 10% on the long-term average, but there are details here. A nice paper is coming out from Vikram Chandel that shows that if you take out the Northeast India, then mainland India actually varies much more than plus minus 10% because Northeast India has its own monsoon cycle. Nonetheless, if we transition from a La Nina state in the winter into a El Nino state in the summer, as we are doing now, deficits can be high, and as of mid-June 2026, monsoon is looking dire. The deficits are almost 35-40%, but June only contributes about 15 to 20% to the seasonal total, so no need to panic yet, even though impacts are already clear because amount of acreage that gets planted, sowed, depends on when the monsoon actually arrives, and we are now a couple of 100,000 hectares below last year's planting of the monsoon kharif crops. Okay, so it's not just El Nino. We'll see later that only about 60% of the monsoons are deficit during an El Nino and excess during a La Nina, which means there are other factors playing around with the monsoon, or the monsoon has its own mind and it can do its own thing. The question is, monsoon happens during June, July, August of a given year, but the El Nino matures during December, January, February, 6 months later. So when El Nino is strong, it appears early. Already it has appeared. This is not new. It has happened before as well, because strong El Ninos always appear very early on, and they affect monsoon. Sometimes with delayed onset, distribution through the season, more break events than active events, periods, and so on and so forth. So seasonal totals almost don't matter now, because extreme events happen. Even if there is excess rain, there are extreme events. Even if there is deficit rain, there are extreme events, droughts and floods. So we have to worry about how the rainfall gets distributed in space and time. Onset happened, but now the trough is stuck and it's not moving forward. Mumbai, as of today, doesn't have rain yet, so Delhi will be even more delayed, and so on and so forth. So just remember that we have to remember all the details about how monsoon and El Nino interact and the patterns. This is the pattern of sea surface temperature during February, March 2025. You can see the El Nino like warming happened here, but there was cooling in the middle. There was warming over here, and this spread out like this. So all these are a combination of natural variability or intrinsic modes of variability like El Nino and La Nina. Superposed on top are global warming patterns. So things are getting complicated. Life is complicated. So monsoon impacts really depend on not just El Nino state now, but what it was in the last winter and what it is transitioning to now. So if past incidents are any indication, then this year could be much harsher in terms of monsoon deficits. Okay, so we'll come back and continue. Obviously, I'm mixing El Nino, monsoon basics and advanced concepts, but I will come back to basic concepts just to explain the details which are being missed in many of the posts on social media. Okay.